Amazing how we can do. Oh, there we go.
Hi, everybody. Again. I'm with Stacy Tuzik, correct?
Yes, you got it.
Yay! And she is a fellow caregiver advocate. And I'm just so excited to be here. Both of us are kind of like on the same pathway, if you will, like making sure caregivers know that you are loved. It's okay to love yourself.
You're not alone.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
Since you brought that up, Stacy, at what point did you kind of wake up like, okay, what am I doing? Why am I here? Why am I feeling this way? Like, at what point in your caregiving journey?
Are you saying in an existential way, why am I here, or in caregiving?
And like burning out. Like, how did I get here?
Before we talk about burnout, can I just do this? Because I noticed you said something about bringing champagne. And I just wanted to say congratulations on your book launch. Lost Travel Found is awesome.
Thank you. Cheers. I need to refill mine.
Well, if you do that and you keep on going, the day will get a little wonky.
Yeah.
But, okay. I didn't want to let that go past before we had a chance to get down into it.
Hi, Miriam.
Hi, Miriam. So your question was, how did I not burn out, right?
Or did you burn out and you're just trying to figure out, like, how did I get to this?
Yeah. So I can tell you that I burned out really early in a long journey. I realized that I can't burn out because I love I was caring for my uncle and loved him incredibly. He was like my dad. But I realized if I wasn't taking care of myself, that I couldn't take care of him in a quality way.
Mm-hmm.
So when I had some really thinking thoughts like, oh my gosh, why am I here? Why me? How come nobody's helping me? And so many others, like, why aren't the doctors listening to me?
Did I lose you, Stacy?
I'm here.
Okay.
So, I'll have as caregivers, I'm going to burn out. I can't do this. How long is this going to take? And I'll tell you, I hated having them. I felt torn about having them because I really, really, really loved my uncle. So how could I be thinking this way? And I honored him because of the impact he had in my whole life. You mentioned that you love traveling, and you and I share that. I love traveling. I love art because of the stories he would tell. He was probably about 90 when I came to be his primary caregiver. And the stories he would tell about his life, about his art, his family, the generation upon generation, and all of this, it was embedded in me. And then to start to burn out early, it was just unacceptable. So unacceptable.
Unacceptable. So many of us don't realize that it is unacceptable.
Yeah. I mean, that's a strong word, right?
Yeah.
Unacceptable. So I quickly had to get a hold of myself and apply some of the things, the resilient stuff that I've learned in the past, because I've been in human resources, training and development and organization development. I had to look at that from a corporate, and I had to make myself a corporate entity and fix it because I wasn't going to make it. It's a marathon, and I was on a sprint. Caregiving journey is a marathon, and I was sprinting. So, and I'm not a runner, so it's not a good marathon for me.
No, I totally can agree to that. And just to tie a little bit about what you said, because that hit me to the core, the unacceptable. Because that's what I have in my book, Lost Travel Found. It's definitely unacceptable to not love yourself because, and I know it's so cliche, it's said time and time again, you have to, fill your own cup before you can fill up others. But it wasn't until I realized when I was caring for my husband that, girl, if you don't do something with yourself, take care of yourself, you're going to end up in the hospital bed
Right.
next to him. And then who's going to take care of him?
Right.
Because nobody is going to take care of my husband like I do.
Right.
So that's when I had to like realize you got to get a grip on yourself, or else the carer is going to need a caregiver.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I've read that you've said that before. The caregiver is going to need a caregiver. It's like, oh no, that can't be. For so many reasons, right? Financially, you can't afford a caregiver to get a caregiver. A lot of caregivers can't afford to even get somebody in. I'm just amazed at some of the things, the way that the system isn't supporting caregiving. And you probably know and are so much more educated about all of that and could talk about it. I'm just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to some of this resources that are not available. But back to your point, you said cliche. And I think it's only a cliche for people who, self-care is a cliche, is only a cliche for people who haven't been a caregiver.
Yeah.
It's like, if you haven't been down in the dirt,
right,
and in the trenches, and have to do it for a long period of time, you don't get it. I think parents probably get, you need to do some self-care, but something happens. Maybe the martyrism, or the, I can do this and sacrifice or whatever.
Yeah.
Did you look at that in your book as well?
Yes, I do talk about, and Miriam, come on, chime in, lady. Talking about how you always feel like you have to do everything. You are the strong person. You can't cry. You can't show weakness. I'm not asking you for help. If you offer the help, I ain't taking it, because then I'm going to look like I'm weak.
Yeah.
I address that kind of stuff in my book, and the results of the lack of help, because people, when you, as a caregiver, when you keep telling people, oh no, I'll take care of it, don't worry about it, people are going to stop asking.
Yes, they think you got it all going on and it's all okay and it's all under control, and meanwhile you're dying inside.
Yep. And and then you get to this point where you're like, well, how come no one's asking me? Because I need the help. Right. Well, it's because you've said no so many times. And I'm not blaming the caregiver. I'm not putting blame. I've been there, trust me.
Yep.
But it's a part of the reason why we can go insane.
Yes.
And I know that, Miriam and I found, help me, Miriam, we found a statistic, and Avis, if you're watching, we found a statistic about caregivers passing away before the person that they're caring for. And I can't remember the figure, but it's astronomical, and it's kind of scary because we don't think about ourselves. Like we are missing our own doctor checkups because we're caring for someone else.
Yeah.
But then what's going to happen when those tables flip?
Yeah.
Yeah. Miriam said, accept the help, grab opportunities. Oh, and here we go.
30%.
30%.
That's crazy, right? And that number doesn't include the other percent of caregivers that have physical breakdowns or mental breakdowns after the journey's over. Whether the journey's over because the person's recovered, or because, like with my uncle, we went through hospice and then he left, he departed.
Right.
I have this example of my aunt. She's my father's brother's wife, and he had a long degenerative disease, unfortunately. And she cared for him for over 20 years. It was crazy. No, maybe it was 13 years. My other friend's husband has a brain tumor. That's going on 20 years. But she had, and I hope she doesn't, I won't say her name. She had, a breakdown. She had ulcers. Her back gave out. All of this stuff. And I'm not blaming her. She had a hard experience. Hard journey. God-loving woman, just a hard journey, And so how do we take care of ourselves?
Yeah. And that's what's so important. And I think, along the path of me writing my thoughts in my heart from pen to paper to write Lost Travel Found, it released some of the anxiety, the stress, that I had pent up still.
Yeah.
And just going through that writing process, it started to become self-care. I mean, if you would have told me a year ago that I was going to become an author today, I'd been like, you're crazy. I don't have time for that. But you have to make time for yourself. I don't care what it is. Just start at 3 to 5 minutes. It can be listening to music, writing, running, binge watching a crazy Netflix show. I don't know.
Yep.
Just do something in small parts, and then you're going to find that you're going to keep adding to it.
Yes.
Because what kind of caregiver are you going to be if you don't take care of yourself?
Yep.
I know a lot of caregivers complain that they don't have time or sleep, rest, right? But those are fundamental things that we have to do, just even outside of caregiving. You have to feed your body. You have to rest your body.
Yep. Totally agree. And you said something in one of your earlier talks about your mom said, or somebody said to you, now it's your time. And the light flickered back on in you, and you have been starting to, feeling like a flame again, or feeling rejuvenated, and the light back in your eyes. I can't quote you directly, but I remember as a caregiver, especially in the beginning, I felt my light dimming, and it was being covered over by, I don't have time. I can't think about this. I can't think about myself. I really have to have everything. And what you said just reminded me of that little glimmer. We all have that light that's in us, and it stays in there. Sometimes it gets covered, but I so appreciate your example in that travel example you gave in that last one, that you went traveling for 9 months and your light started to come back and started to refresh that. And one of the things I'm trying to do in the Caregiver Oasis is reignite that light for caregivers, whether professional or non-professional, so they know it's still there, even if it's 60 seconds a day. Flip it back on. We have the power.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
We truly do.
Yeah.
Right? And something that my dad and mom always said, and my mom still does to this day, you always have time, or you always have money for the things that you want to spend your money and time on. You do. You figure it out, right?
Yep.
So knowing that and saying that, then that just means you don't value time spent on yourself.
Oh, yeah. So a worthiness conversation, a self-worthy conversation.
Again, I've been there. I'm not blaming the caregiver. I've been there. Trust me.
And I think that's a journey as well, right? Figuring out what our worth is. And I found my worth in caregiving. I found it. I was really good at it, and I was really strong at it, and I can control a lot of things. So I understand, my worth, that felt good. But at the same time, when I wasn't caring for myself, I didn't have as much energy. So how do you flip that? And
right.
Yeah, that's so important, but it's a journey. And we have a lot of things throughout life that tell us maybe we're not worthy, or we're not as worthy. It's conditioning. So you got to peel that back.
Right. And I think it goes back to what you said earlier about how there's so much of a lack of knowledge and information for us. And I talk about this in my book, but I had an issue. So I'm 30. Well, now I'm 35, but back when I was 30 and having to start my caregiving journey, I didn't know anybody my age. I thought caregiving was when you get older and you take care of your old parents.
Yes.
Because that's what I knew from watching my grandma take care of my great grandmother, my mom taking care of her mother. It was when you're older. It wasn't at 30 years old and you're having to take care of a spouse.
Not even at 40 and 45.
Right. So, there was nothing for no kind of blueprint or map for me. And I'm hoping, and I know, actually, we're not going to hope. I know Lost Travel Found can be a map, a roadway, a journey for others that might be younger, like me, getting these type of sitting in doctor's offices with their loved ones, no matter if it's spouse, mom, dad, cousin, friend, whoever, and will be able to relate, because my friends were out traveling, doing whatever, and I'm having to sit in a hospital room with someone. I hadn't even married him yet, so it was hard. And the information that you can find, you have to dig for it yourself, which I explain in my book as well, because I think more caregivers need to share their stories in whatever form it is, podcast, books, motivational speaking, whatever it is, because people think we do it so easily.
Yeah.
We fake it till we make it a lot of times.
Yep.
But we need to let people know the nitty gritty of it, because it's not easy. Yeah. These things are not just on a bulletin board where we can take a number and a piece of paper like, okay, thanks for the information. Bye.
It's not like playing a sport. It's not like playing a sport. It's not like singing in a choir. You got the guidebook. It's not like that.
Exactly.
So thank goodness for books like yours or Facebook places and communities that we're building, things like that. I do want to, put a little warning out there that I have noticed that there are some Facebook communities that are, and excuse me for saying this, that are just BITCH sessions.
Oh, absolutely.
And I get the need to vent. I understand that. But what I'm looking for, and the way I helped myself, was choosing not to be bitter and choosing to be better. Okay.
Let's just let that sit there for a minute.
Let's do it one more time.
Say it again.
Not to be bitter, but to get better and to do better and to feel better. I always wanted to go to sleep at night, put my head on the pillow and say, I did a good job. I chose not to be bitter. And so that's tough.
That's actually something, because Miriam also, she's a caregiver coach as well, as author, as motivational speaker, as all the things. So she just said she feels you about those Facebook groups, but we got connected last year because I started my caregiving group, which is all about
uplifting.
Uplifting.
Yep.
Because the caregiver groups that I was a part of, I didn't see that really. So I wanted to make a space where, yes, caregiving's hard. Life is hard. Let's try to focus on how to get out of that space, out of that thinking. So, she has a positive caregiver group. Yours is awesome. I've just been so grateful to find like-minded caregiving advocates that are, we're all out here trying to do the same thing, because there's so many caregivers. We need more that are like you, like Miriam, like me, to get out there and spread the positivity. No matter if it's Facebook group, podcast, book, whatever.
Yep. Just
trying to negate from the unwanted negative thoughts and feelings.
Yeah. I've just started running programs, online programs around this, so that folks who want to come in and thrive versus, just survive by, hanging on by nails. And there's been a nice response, and it is such a gift for me to be able to get it out, to get that voice out. So I imagine your book, Lost Found, I mean, Lost Travel Found is very similar. You were able to articulate and find your voice and share it. It's just such a cool thing.
Yeah.
Such a cool thing.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And that's what I'm here to do. Just spread the good cheer and just sharing my story, and that it will touch someone and help them along their path, their journey, no matter if they're a caregiver or not, because there's a little bit of something of everything in here for anyone who gets it and reads it. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
You know, I so far I haven't come up against anybody who has said, you're so positive, it's all sugar, it's not real. And I think you and I, and even Miriam, who we can't see but we know is listening, we can say, we've traveled this pathway. We know how difficult it is. So this isn't false positivity. It's not toxic positivity. It's the way we chose to meet our journey, the quality of our journey, and now we want to share it in a way that you can do it as well. So
yeah,
I looked at one point in my journey when I made that decision to go from bitter to better, to gamify what I was doing. And it was silly, but I was gamifying things, the most mundane things in my mind, so I could find fun in it. And I trained myself to find the fun. So we went to the doctor's office. How could I find the fun? Make somebody laugh, have a conversation, find out new fun facts, or whatever it was. You know what we haven't talked about yet is really, how did that ripple to the ones we were loving? And you mentioned your husband now enjoys traveling. My uncle didn't know. He was finding himself not as a victim like poor me, but he was just stoic and quiet. Well, when we started having fun, that light that you talked about earlier, he lit up.
Yeah.
He would walk into the doctor's offices with a little bit of candy, these golden nuggets of Rocher chocolates in his pocket, and he would put it on top of the reception's desk, and she would beam at him, and he would beam back at her, and all of a sudden there was this energetic exchange and love.
Exactly.
So the gamification was important and changing.
Yeah.
So,
and I'll end with this so that we can be respectful of time here.
Yeah.
But there's scenes in my book where it's hard. Like I said earlier, life is hard, but we would try to find the fun in things. Yeah. And now Troy and I, my husband, can look back on those situations that I wrote about and kind of laugh, but also respect that time in our lives, because it hasn't always been unicorns and rainbows. Yeah. But now we can look back and say, wow, we were there, now we're here, and we're going to keep going forward with our lives, because we know that tomorrow's not promised today. We just know that. So, Stacy, I just want to say thank you. I can't wait to talk to the caregiver oasis. I just love it. I love the word oasis anyways. But so thank you so much for coming on with me. This is our first time like face-to-face talking. We've talked on Facebook, but I'm so glad that we got to do this. I love your spirit, and I can't wait for more.
Cheers to you. So
Cheers.
Much live, right? Clink. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Good luck.